Hey guys. So thanks for tuning in. If you're tuning in from, YouTube or whatever, welcome. Today we have an awesome guest, Tadi, and we're going to be talking about how to become a pen tester and his journey on how he became a pen tester in 2023. So if you guys are watching this after the time or after the recording or whatever, if you have any questions, just throw it in the chat or in the comments for me or him, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So without further ado, let me bring him in. Here he comes. What's up?
Hey Patrick, how's it going?
Good, good, good. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. I always have audio issues, so just making sure.
Yeah. So for everyone that, just the first question, if you guys don't know, he has a YouTube channel as well. You can check him out. I'll put his link in the description. So without further ado, go ahead and introduce yourself and who are you?
All right. My name is Tadi, Tadi, as you can see on screen. Most people usually type a Tady, so I have to be specific. Um, I'm kind of young, rather young, to most compared to most people. 21 years old. I'm originally from Zimbabwe, and I'm currently a security engineer, focusing on application security. So everything from mobile to web to source code reviews, cloud configuration, all that good stuff.
Sweet. Awesome. So that's awesome, right? So 21 years old, right?
Yeah.
That's, from Zimbabwe, came to this country probably, you know, for a new career or new, start to his life. So, all the stuff that you're doing right now, if someone says they're 21 years old and maybe just out of high school or going into college, I'm not sure if you're finished with college yet,
Yeah.
and they want to become a hacker or a pen tester or just, cybersecurity analyst or whatever whatever you want to call it, what would be or what was your journey into the field of cyber?
My journey began kind of in high school, almost out of high school. I was doing IT, and I wanted to be like a software developer at that time. And I was building a mobile app for my school. I was getting help from my IT teachers. I needed to secure something like one of the databases because it was terrible what I had done. And my IT teacher was like, "You need to fix this, otherwise the whole school is gonna get hacked." And so I went into looking for a solution, bumped into John Hammond videos, um, and from there I just fell into the rabbit hole of security. And then at that time I was living in Zimbabwe, but I was also taking school in South Africa for college because I started as a computer science major. Um, but like halfway through the year, I got my visa to come to the US, came to the US, and I always wanted to do cybersecurity after I bumped into John Hammond, but back there isn't like a dedicated cybersecurity degree. So I'd done computer science to start off with. And so when I got here, I was like, okay, I could probably now switch to a dedicated cybersecurity degree. But at the same time, schooling here is very expensive. So compared to back home, I had to pay thousands of dollars per semester compared to paying a couple thousand for a whole year back home.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, I need to, make a plan. Either I get into debt and get a cybersecurity degree, or I try get a decent job and then, move on from there and maybe pay for school after that. So I gave myself a year after moving to the US. This was like mid 2021. I gave myself a year. I was like, okay, you have a year. You can do whatever you want, but after that, if you know don't do things correctly, you're probably gonna get into debt going back to school. So that was what I told myself. I started doing certifications from there. I started with like the EJPT and then the PNPT. Then I worked on the OSCP. And around the time I completed the OSCP was around the time my time was expiring as well. My year was almost over. It was fall, so new school semester was starting, and I didn't know that I what was gonna happen. So I was like, okay, your year is over. You have these certifications. You can still apply for jobs, but you have to go back to school now. And so I went to college again to continue with my studies. I started my cybersecurity degree. I had switched from computer science, and then so yeah, I finished the semester. But like halfway through the semester, after having posted about the OSCP, I was getting like DMs from recruiters on LinkedIn, and I was talking to a bunch of people about that, and I just happened to land a position as a security engineer. So that's how it happened. Um, what was your question again? I kind of went off track, to be honest.
No, and that's pretty much it. Like telling telling us about yourself, and this is awesome, right? Because so now we can transition into the certification, like you said, right? Like
Yeah,
so having both sides, right? And likewise for myself. So, but you're a lot younger than me. So, so from someone that wants to study a cybersecurity degree versus going for like EJPT, PMPT, OSCP, etc.,
yeah.
what would be your recommendation for someone right from the jump, right from the beginning of their career? What obviously EJPT and stuff like that, but would you rather, if you had to go back in time, of course now you have, did you already graduate college or you're still in college?
I'm still in college. I have like 1.5 semesters left, which I have to, complete. But we'll see.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So far from your 3.5 years or 3 years and three years and something versus what you had to study for your OSCP and PMPT,
Yeah.
where would you have done it differently, or you still would have gone to get your degree? Like, because I know, like, being from elsewhere, and degrees are really really important, right?
Yeah.
Like my
Yeah.
background is like,
Definitely.
okay, like you have to have a degree. Like certifications is like not lower, but it's like, okay, like not frowned upon, but it's like, okay, like your degree is the head honcho, right? Obviously, families think that, right? Especially if the
Yeah.
old fashioned way, you need that college degree to be successful. So for someone that's getting into the field, would you have done it different, or you would continue this path? Well, what would be your advice to someone else?
I think my advice to someone starting, if you haven't already started college, I think give yourself some time to figure out a plan, and then give yourself more time to try execute that plan. And then maybe if it doesn't work out, try college out, because my parents are definitely like traditionalists in terms of like degrees. They think you really need a degree to get somewhere in life.
Mhm.
So they were kind of like forcing me. They'd be like, "Oh, you're in America now. You can go to a good school." I'm like, I already went to a good school because I was at like the best university in Africa,
Yeah,
so it was a good school. So there's no difference. And they were like, "You really need a degree," and I was like, "Okay, cool. Let's give ourselves a year. If I don't, get something or find what I want to do by that time, I'll go do what you want, get myself a degree." So I wouldn't change how I approached that.
nice.
You can try make a roadmap for certifications based on other people's recommendations. Um, I really went for practical certifications. That's why I did EJPT, PNPT, OSCP. Some people do the whole network. What is it called? CompTIA triad, network
Yeah,
plus,
base plus
security
network plus
plus.
security
Yeah,
plus.
some people take that route and then they go the analyst route. I don't really like studying text that much.
Hmm.
I like doing labs, having my hands on the keyboard. So I was like, let me do practical certifications. So
Hmm.
that is why I ended up taking the route I took. But I would still say, if you haven't started college, try that out first. Try certifications out, network as hard as you can, and you might, fall into a role. And then maybe you don't have to suffer as much with college, if at all.
Yeah, and that was my next thing, because from what you said, people would sending you message on LinkedIn once you got your OSCP. Once that OSCP was on your profile, now recruiters are bombarding you. So, do you think having that OSCP has opened up more doors for you?
I think having the OCP is a fraction of the reason why I was able to like get a position as a security engineer. I think the biggest reason was the fact that I'm active in the community. On Discord, you can find me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I have my own channel. So people kind of already saw me, contributing and sharing things and doing all that.
Hmm.
If I hadn't had a lot of, LinkedIn connections or people following me on LinkedIn, if I just posted about, oh, I have the OSCP now, probably the only connections I would have had were the ones that would see it, and it wouldn't get as much traffic as it did. Because at the time I posted it, I had about 1,800 followers on LinkedIn. I posted it, and within 10 minutes, it had like 5,000 impressions. And then I think at the time of recording right now, the last time I checked it, that same post had like 300,000 impressions. So
Nice.
300,000 people scrolling through LinkedIn saw that post. So I think that was the biggest thing with regards to um, me having been able to find a job eventually, is the fact that I was active and in the community, posting, networking, talking to people, and then eventually, posting about the OSCP. If I hadn't passed the OSCP, I wouldn't have had anything to post about. So I think there's some balance with regards to that. So I wouldn't just credit it to the OSCP, but it did play a big part.
Yeah, nice. And that's what I was going to go to next, right? Like networking and showing your work, right? It's like the old school, like when people still ask me, I haven't had to like update my resume in a while, but
Yeah,
people still ask for a resume. It's like, how can I really document the practicality of different technologies of what I'm doing on a piece of paper? Yeah, you can use GitHub, you can, do all these fancy stuff. But I think having like, you don't have to put your face on a camera, but it helps, I think, because he has that more
yeah,
approachable feel. But I think having your home lab, like you said, setting up a hacking lab, like there's so many people. Howard from IT security labs.
yeah.
Um,
Love that guy.
yeah, he's I want to have him on too. So, there's other folks that, you know, show their work. And I think Howard says the same thing. I believe like he was working as a blue teamer, he was working at a company. And then as he got his OSCP and he started like doing more of the offensive stuff, showing his try hack me stuff, his, hack the box, walkthroughs, and then he got a red team interview, right? So
Yeah,
showing that you have that skill, and even if you don't have the skill, the eagerness to learn, I think that's super critical, right? Because we don't all know it all. An exploit that works today may not work tomorrow. So you just have to understand the methodology of tackling on how to exploit a service or a technology, right? And yeah, so that's good to know that networking and having those connections really helps you. And for anyone that's watching, networking is super critical, right?
yep,
People maybe they're scared, or maybe they're like, "Oh, I'm too entry level. I can't write Bill Gates," for an example. It's just write Bill Gates and just say, "Hey, Bill, how are you? I love Microsoft and I've been using it since Windows NT." I don't know. Or maybe you are new and the latest one that you use is Windows 10. I don't know. But the point being is don't be afraid, right? So that's uh that's that. So I guess a question I want to ask. So what certification was more difficult? PMPT or OSCP?
um that's a hard question to answer. I failed the PNPT like twice, and I passed the OSCP on the first attempt. So we can use kind of that metric. Um, but at the same time, they have like different requirements. Because I think I've mentioned it in one other video. The PNPT is more like organization based. You have to try find ways that you would do in real life to exploit an organization.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of compare it to like actual red teaming. You have to go through OSINT,
Mm-hmm.
you know, gathering information on the company itself that's presented by TCM Security for that scenario, breaking in and then pivoting internally, etc. Um, so we can try to use that metric, and then I think the OSCP is more exploitation based in terms of like software and services, etc. You have to find vulnerabilities in the software and all that. There isn't as much human interaction as the PNPT would have. So it's a difficult question, to be honest. I think they're both hard in their own respect,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely had fun doing both, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's good to know. The reason why I asked because I want to do my PMPT this year. I was
Yeah.
going to do it last year, but just things got in the way. And they said they're going to be up. I don't know if they updated it yet. They said they were going to be updating their exam or changing some stuff.
I'm pretty sure they did. I think so.
I think it was February 1st, if I remember
Yeah, yeah,
correctly.
yeah.
So I don't know if it's changing, you know, and that now like it's changing dramatically, that like he has to add stuff to the practical hacking course, and like things are just going to be totally different. I don't know. That's something probably have to ask Zach, because Zach is going to be on here.
Yeah,
uh,
as for the link.
yeah, so like I want to see like about the PMPT, the new PMPT, if it's still going to be the same five courses, and with that, should you be able to pass, or at least have a good chance, because you
Yeah.
said you failed twice, and that's
Yeah. It's me speculating, but I think it's gonna be mostly the same. They're probably changing out um user profiles, some escalation paths, etc, just to avoid, people cheating and stuff like that, and just to freshen it up for, you know, people that might be doing it again. Because even if they don't like change everything, changing passwords and usernames and all that will prevent people from cheating. And I know there's obviously people out there that cheat, so that's probably the most update is going to be getting. But then again, I don't work there, so I don't know.
yeah. So, and the funny thing that you say that, because I saw Heath saying something about cheating, and I always I understand, like with, and I did this like when I was studying for certifications, like Cisco, Microsoft, like studying like an exam cram,
Mm,
like studying questions to learn how the questions are presented. But like on a practical, how is there like is I wonder if they consider cheating, like, okay, hey, you took it, how was it? Is it like that? Is they consider Do they consider cheating, or someone actually
mm.
see, that's where I'm a little confused, because how can someone cheat on a practical exam, unless I'm like, yo, come over to my house and like do the exam for me.
Yeah, I think it's more of a asking specific scenario questions. Um, Maybe like, what was how did you, get into the first machine? What was the privilege escalation method? Stuff like
Hmm.
that. And I've seen instances of people submitting the exact same reports with just different wording. Um, and like the
Mm.
screenshots are the exact same. The names are just changed. Some of the wording is changed, but the screenshots are exactly the same. So I think that's the sort of cheating they would be talking about. In terms of people saying how it was, I don't think it's anything terrible unless they do get into the specifics. Because
Yeah, it's
people
like,
post reviews really, so you can't really stop people from saying how it was.
gotcha. All
Yeah.
right. So, and that's good to know. So I guess like, and now you're studying for the OSWE, right? So tell us about that journey, and what do you like about it so far? Pros, cons, ups and downs, the merry-go-rounds.
um People were like criticizing me for moving from OSEP to OSWE. And I was like, I'm working in application security now, so OSWE definitely makes the most sense compared to like doing the OSEP, which is like the precursor, or I don't know, the one that comes after the OSCP. Journey so far, it's difficult and dense. I had to like switch up my studying method because with the OSCP, I was like able to go through the material while watching YouTube videos and doing other things. But with the OSWE, I quickly realized that I have to be ultra focused, and so it's difficult in that regard. There's a lot less modules, like topics to cover exactly, but the ones that are covered, they go into depth and completely cover most things that need to be covered with regards to that. So I like that about it, but I don't like the fact that it's not as coherent as one would expect. Like they go from .NET to JavaScript stuff to XSS, and then back to low level C sharp stuff, and it's kind of confusing in terms of like putting the pieces together. But hopefully I'll be done soon. I have like two more modules, I think, two or three, and then I'm probably gonna have just do a redo of everything again, and then maybe think about taking the exam. But that's mostly how it's going. And in terms of like community support, um I'm mostly finding help from like the forums, because that's where most people discuss. But in like Discord or just online in general, there aren't as many people taking the OSWE as they were people doing the OSCP. So getting help from people on like Discord and stuff like that takes a while, to be honest. If you have a
Mhm.
problem, it's probably going to take 3 or 4 days to solve if you're waiting for help.
Gotcha. Man, yeah. I don't know about that exam. I'm not on the application side and never really
Yeah.
been interested in the application side. So I don't think that that exam will ever be on my radar, at least for now. At
For
least for
now.
now. Um,
Yeah.
I would probably do the OSEP before I would do the OSWE, but I don't even know. Like I don't know, like at this point in my career, like if that really makes sense. I'd rather do like I think it's CTRP or like the Certified Red Team.
CRTP.
Yeah, all these
Yeah.
acronyms. Yeah, that one I would. After my PMPT, I think I want to go after that because I'm dealing with more internal stuff, doing more like Active Directory hacking, and that's something I really want to get a lot better at.
Yeah.
Um,
That is a question I actually had for you. Considering you moved from, you moved up the ranks in terms of like the corporate ladder, you're a director now. Do you still do technical stuff, or it's more managerial, people to people?
no, so yeah, that's a good question. So it's a little bit of both, but it's still on the technical stuff. I'm still doing, for example, no before stuff. I'm still getting to Qualys. I'm still getting, using Huntress. Going through, doing my. So it's a team it's still building as
Yeah.
we speak. So it's still very small in the cybersecurity space. And so yes, to answer your question, I'm still hands on keyboard, and I don't ever want to disconnect from that. Reason being is because prior, I would interview with folks, and there's a lot of sharper people than me, right? Like, but there's still like I think one thing about me, and one thing, like if I guess now, if you're reporting to like the CEO, the owner, obviously that's a different story. But for example, you're 21 years old, right? You have OSCP, PMPT, EJPT. You have to have a decent amount of knowledge about, internal assessments and stuff like that. Say, for example, I was interviewing you and you were reporting to me, but you can run circles around me. That feels a little weird, right? I was like, I don't know. That always held something in my heart. It's like I never felt comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
So it was just like, prior, like when I was a network engineer, I would have to, report to a network manager, and he didn't understand BGP. He wouldn't understand how EIGRP works, or what is these, if we have to set up a static NAT versus dynamic NAT. This is all on the networking side, right? And understanding these kind of, hello messages, and you're just like basic troubleshooting, like, oh, we have one of our MPLS or our Velo Cloud or SD-WAN is down or whatever, and they wouldn't know what to do. And it's like, dude, like I'm reporting to you. You're supposed to be, if I'm needing help, you are the one that I'm supposed to come to. And that's just the way I always felt, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a lot older than you. So like when I was, in my early 20s, that's the way I felt. I'm like, okay, like if I'm going to run circles around you, that's going to be weird. Like, who am I going to go to for support or help if I know more than you?
That
And
makes
you're going
sense.
to wait, you're getting paid 3 times I am. And so that's something that it never sat well with me. So, but yeah, like it's definitely still hands on keyboard. Like that's why I even try to, stay up to par, like doing these walkthroughs on my channel still, like, because sometimes, you can fall off if you're not using it, you're going to lose it,
Yeah.
and, like doing the OSCP, PMPT, like now if you go doing blue teaming stuff and and that's why kudos to John, right? Hammond, like he's working for hundreds. I think he does more like threat intelligence and threat analysis and research and stuff like that. But he has a lot of the high end certifications, right? Like
Yeah.
I think that kid is just somewhat genius.
He's something
But
else, to be honest.
but the kid is super humble. And that's one thing. If you ever watch this, John, like kudos to you, dude. And
Yeah. I hope to meet him someday. It's pretty cool.
yeah, he's a genuine dude. Like he's a genuine guy. Like I don't know him personally, but yeah, I've had chit chats with him. He's been on the channel, and I have done some stuff with him. But like he's network with folks. If you guys are watching this, you know, don't think no one's too good to be true. You know what I mean? And speaking of that, like maybe John, obviously John's younger than me, right?
Yeah.
I think he's a little older than you. But like folks like, I don't even know if you know him, Jeremy Chara, Keith Barker. These are guys that like networking and for like CBT nuggets and stuff like that. Those are the people I looked up to, right? I still look up to. So like when I got the opportunity to talk to Keith, and I want to have him on a live stream here. This was like when I first started my channel, and literally like it was like meeting Michael Jordan for some folks, right? Or LeBron James or whatever. I'm like, when I talked to this guy, I was like, dude, like, and super humble guy, like super cool guy. Like it's super approachable. It's like
Yeah.
not an arrogant person, like not like, oh, you're a nobody. And that's one thing, never feel that you're too good or too small for anyone. You're a human being. We're all human, and just do your thing. You know what I mean? But that's cool. So what is like a day in a life for you? Like as a security engineer, like what do you do on a daily basis? Like as far as the application, code review, etc. But like, what is it that you know, do? What tools do you use and all that good stuff?
Um, the day and a life depends on what I'm working on exactly. If I have an engagement, it means a couple of calls before the actual engagement. So we're doing demo calls, pre-kickoff calls, scoping, all that stuff. And then during the actual engagement, after set goals, and then we have a draft for whatever findings we need to do, and then go through that, do anything extra that needs to be done. And then currently, though, Q1 is pretty slow. I think that's the case for most people because
Hmm.
a lot of companies aren't even hiring at the moment. So I'm currently working on internal stuff. I don't want to talk too much about the actual environment, but
Hmm.
I'm working on cloud configuration, kind of like building most stuff from ground up because the way it had been done, they just wanted to, redo it and move some stuff to the cloud. So that is what I'm working on. And I find it pretty interesting because as someone who had like a developer background, building and, scripting, building applications, architecture, diagrams, all that good stuff, I kind of find it pretty interesting. And it might make me question whether I might continue down the offensive route or start going into more architecture and, development again, but we'll see.
Exactly. And that transitions just do stuff that you're passionate about, right? Don't chase the money. Don't try to be like the next dude next to you.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to the gym, right? Like you go to the gym, you're you're you, and you look at the Hulk next to you, like, damn, I'm not like that guy, so I'm not as good as him, or I'm not as jacked as him, or whatever. But you just haven't gotten to that level, or you just haven't you're not taking the roids that dude's doing. But like, so getting into the field and getting passionate about someone, yeah, because everyone likes to wear the anonymous mask and the hoodie and and hack away, but
Yeah.
there's so much to cyber.
Really.
You know what I mean? It's a huge field. It's not
Yeah.
always, it's not all technical either. You can do GRC, you can do a whole bunch of different perspectives of cyber. But whatever's interested to what's most interested, what is whatever is most interested to you, follow your heart. You know what I mean? Don't I think following other people's path and not your own journey, is not cool. Just
Yeah.
because, you know, for example, like we can talk about other content creators, for example, right? Like the Cyber Mentor or John or Hackersploit or any of these have half a million subscribers, and I have like whatever 24,000. It's not like you have what 3 or 4,000 now.
Yeah. Three.
So it's not like, oh man, I'm never gonna have 500,000. I'm gonna quit. You know what I mean? You have your own journey, you have your own crowd, you have your own audience, you have your own folks. Like that's one thing. Never compare yourself to the next person because everyone has their own journey. You don't know what they did to get there. So that's one thing. Follow your journey and just walk your own path.
Yeah. And I think doing different things, um, it'll make you realize what exactly you might want to go into. For example, when it comes to cybersecurity, most people are going to see first will probably be like the red team side of things, and then they're probably just going to start, unhack the box and start hacking things, and then they don't try out everything else from like the blue team stuff and just doing both, maybe purple teaming stuff. And so just trying out other things, you might realize you like something else better than what you started out with. So just knowing what you like in terms of what you want to do as well, that'll be helpful in navigating your career and moving forward. And talking about careers, I have a question about what you think would be a good game plan for someone moving in from a junior role and trying to move up the ladder, maybe become like a medium, a mid-level engineer, and then maybe like a senior, maybe like a director or principal at some point.
Yeah, so I think that comes with experience, right? And just your time in the field. That's what I think. Because just like I was saying, right? You're a
Yeah.
junior, right? Like you're someone that's super young, where you can probably run circles around a CISO, right? Because a CISO is just, oh, I'm going to do the policies, procedures, and this. I'm a
Yeah.
CISSP, but I don't know what Metasploit is. I don't know what Bloodhound is. I don't even know what Kali Linux is, right? And it's the God honest truth, right? So I think following like this, circles back to what you want to do. So, like, if you want to be a principal or mid-level, a senior, I think just putting in the work and growing as a professional in whatever field you are, blue team, red team, purple team, whatever. I think that's pretty much, that's what I did, right? Like I was at the bottom of the totem pole, going from system engineering, network engineering, cloud, VMware, all that good stuff. And when I transitioned to cyber, but my story was a little unique. I don't know how much you ever watched of me,
Yeah.
but like I don't come from a technical upbringing per se, right? Like folks been using computers since they were 3 or 4 years old. Not me. I started using a computer at 17 years old, right? So I didn't grow up. I grew up more like let's play hockey, let's go play in the streets. You know what I mean? Not the only time you're going to be inside is if you're grounded or punished, right? Like you want to be outside, not be inside.
Yeah.
Now today it's totally opposite, right? It's like you want to I want to ground my daughter. I want to send her to the park. You know what I mean? Because or else she'll just be in her Game Boy or whatever. But you know what I mean? So yeah, it's true, man. It's like to ground you, you have to kick them out. But I think, yeah, just following your path and just following, doing what you want to do and just, keep it going. Don't stop. Don't look at the next person saying, okay, he's a senior, I'm never going to get there. I
Yeah.
think just following your own path and just put in the work and you'll get there.
What do you
You
think
know?
about job hopping?
Yeah. So that as that's a good question. If you asked me that years ago, I would frown upon it. It's like, oh, then you're not stable, right? But now it's a little eye opening because it's like, for an example, if you're making, if you're making 50 grand starting out, right? You're making $50,000, and you're there for a year, and you're like, okay, I want to get a raise. Your raise will probably be up to 54,000, right? Maybe 55,000. But now if you say, okay, I want to go to ABC Incorporated because I feel like I got this year, I got a lot of experience now, or at least more experience. And now instead of getting 55 at company A, I can go to company B and make 60 or 70, right?
Yeah.
And then so I believe in job hopping now, right? Like especially like in this field as a pen tester, a lot of people maybe do more consulting work and stuff like that. So job hopping, or just another thing you can do is create an LLC and just consult. You can get at
Yeah.
the point like, and just do that, right? Like, and say, okay, you can work for example, these consulting firms and say, okay, like sub it out to me, and I'll do it, I'll do your week engagement. You don't have to hire a pen tester for 100 and something $1,000. Now you can just pay me for the week, 10 grand for the week or whatever it is, how much you ever, whatever you charge, $300-400 an hour. And Now they only pay 10 grand versus if they have to have an internal guy. So, and now you can go to company A, then you can go to company B, you can go to company C, and that's exactly what I think Heath did, right? Like he was a pen tester and he was getting always people were recommending or wanted him as their pen tester when he was working for a pen testing company. And he's like, okay, like why am I going to keep doing this to put money in your pocket when I can just do this for myself? It's like, doesn't make sense. And then look at him now. You know what I mean? The guy he's doing very well for himself. And I'm super excited for him. And, anyone can do it. I have a very, very similar background to Keith. And if you guys know Heath's background, obviously, I'm not going to divulge it. He has it on his channel. He talks about his upbringing. And I have a very, very similar upbringing. Mom passing away, doing all that, jazzy jazz and growing up very poor and, food stamps and all that jazz in New York. That's how I grew up. And then it's like, man, like seeing where the guy is at now versus where he came from before he was on the interwebs, I can only imagine that transition. That's why, like, when he's talking about his Lambo and his stuff that he has, it's like, dude, like, dudes are just gonna hate. You know what I mean? Like, keep flashing that, dude. Like, don't stop. And haters are gonna hate. You know what I mean? And that's all it's gonna be. But yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
All right,
I think there's a question in the chat, maybe.
Yeah.
Unless you have other questions.
Nope, I'm going to show that. So what is the most impactful cert or course you have taken that felt really helped? So TLS, I'll have him answer that. I'm guessing it's for him, but I can answer it as well.
Yeah.
Go for it. Tadi, you go first.
Help me out. I would say the PNPT. The PNPT training. I bought the training that included like the certification voucher. So I had to do all 5 courses, and I learned a lot in doing that and in, going through the actual exam and even after, because in their Discord, they have a PNPT hangouts, which is people that just passed the PNPT. So you get to meet people that, are kind of in the same trajectory as you. And they talk about a lot of things. So even after having taken the PNPT, I'm still learning from people that have also taken the PNPT. And so I think it helped me a lot in terms of, just opening up my mind in terms of OSINT, how to look at, gathering information for businesses, etc., and then actual exploitation externally, and then pivoting internally, which is very important when you're doing, active directory engagements or just general pivoting. And I would say the PNPT helped me a lot. EJPT, it was kind of like a starter. It got me good at kind of networking stuff because that's what it focused on at the time. And then with the OSCP, it got me more in the mindset of actually studying and focusing as compared to, gaining skills. Because sometimes when I do boxes now, I've forgotten half the things I learned from the OSCP, to be honest. It was more of a get used to a bunch of these commands and a bunch of these ways to do things, and hopefully you get an exam with those things and you can go. Yeah
And that's the thing about that exam, right? I think it's more like a CTF. It's more CTF driven. And so I'll answer this. So what is the most impactful cert? So to be honest, it's not cybersecurity for me. Mine was probably the MCITP Enterprise Admin, and this is from Microsoft. I think it was the most impactful cert for me at that time because I was working in an environment that we were using Active Directory at an enterprise level, but I didn't really understand that enterprise level yet. So having this certification, labbing that stuff up, understanding trust, domain trust, all the different child domains and understanding RODCs or read-only domain controllers, and really, because Active Directory, people think as Active Directory as okay, one domain controller, you users of computers, but there's a lot more to it, right? How these things are authenticating now using SSO or IAM. So it's like so many different avenues to Active Directory. So that was super, super powerful for me, that certification. And So yeah, and the course that I took for that was from CBT Nuggets back then. They had a
CBT
MCITP.
nuggets.
Yeah, CBT Nuggets. I did a lot of my certifications through certification training through them, and that's how I, learned about Keith Barker. That's how I learned about Jeremy Chara and all these other folks that from CBT Nuggets. That was really impactful for me. That's where I learned a lot. And so like I want to. All right, so one shot. All right, let's hide this. So one shot is like, I'm not sure what your question is. Like, where is the most use of pen testing? What do you mean? I don't understand. Like, I want to know the field of 12th grade in the field shell. All right, so you can pivot from what he said, learning, maybe do EJPT, do more of the practical. Yeah, you can do like CEH or Pen Test Plus and stuff like that, but that's more theoretical. There's not really much of. See, I haven't taken the Pen Test Plus, but I did the CEH many moons ago, and it was more like drag and drop, and it shows you like a picture and like of a tool and so on and so forth. So it's not really like, when I did my CEH, I did it 12 years ago now, or 11 years ago. So I think it was 11 years. I don't even have it with me, but it was a long time ago. So it was like the only, ethical hacking certification that was out, or that really was known. That's when I did like Security Plus, and then I did CEH, CHFI, LPT, ECSA, and all those other ones. Yeah, Keith Barker's subnetting lessons are on point. He has this whole CCNA playlist on his channel. So Keith is that dude's a god. So yeah. Any other questions from the folks that are watching? Shoot it over. We'll probably wrap up in about 5 or 10 minutes. I don't want to take too much of his time. And all right, let's see. Currently I'm having my GPT. Yeah, I'll just put this up here.
I kind of like this question. There was like a lot of backlash when it actually then came out. People like, yo, the price is too high. It's like $1,000. And personally, I think it's worth $1,000 because what you get from them is more than just the technical stuff. And when you actually start interviewing, it's definitely going to be a lot more than the technical stuff. I mean, it also depends on who you're interviewing with. Some people really just want tech heads, just sit at a computer, do what you're told to do, and you don't take any meetings and all that. But a lot of other people as well, they want people that can interact with clients, interact with team members, etc. So you're getting the technical side and human interaction as well, which is makes you just a holistic engineer or pen tester at the end of the day. I think it's really good. If you can afford it, do so. I would say if you can afford it, don't chop your toe off just to do something. Save up and make the best financial decision for whatever situation you're in. I know personally, if I hadn't come to the US, I wouldn't have been able to afford, some of these things like the OSCP as easily as I have after I having come to the US. So depending on where you're from, make your judgment based on that. Just because other people are doing it doesn't mean you have to do it. Just because Tadi said it's a good thing doesn't necessarily make it a good thing. It's not the objective truth. So make a decision based on that. But I think it's going to help a lot of people get started.
Yeah. And, I'll pivot on that. So yeah, totally. Like I agree with you 1,000%. Like having that bundle, it's definitely worth it, and having more understanding of not just like you said, the tech head, you just, keyboard and mouse and hacking away and doing all this stuff, understanding communication, debriefing. That's what like really, really I hear is valuable, right? For the PMPT, because when you're on a real engagement, right, when you're doing real pen tests, you have to have that initial, kickstart call, kickoff call, whatever you want to call it. Say, okay, what are we trying to, what's in scope? What is out of scope? What are we trying to test? And have that communication skill, because understanding what the client really wants, and then, do your reporting and, debriefing this. And not only like, okay, like we're all hackers and now we can say, okay, look, this is the way I found my way in. I use this, I use that. But Joe Blow, the CEO, is not going to understand any of that. So taking those terms and simmering it down to a non-technical audience is definitely like a key in itself, right? It's definitely a skill. So having both of those skills will just make you that much better. So kudos to TCM for creating that. I think it's super, super beneficial. And like you said, don't go, chop your toe off or your fingers off just to afford $1,000. Just make sure you can afford it, and do whatever is good for you and your family, right?
Sure.
Whatever is suitable for you. And yeah. So what? All right. Thanks for that, TLS. Thank you very much. What is the best age of
One
completing the
shot is
CH class?
14.
14. Bloody hell.
That's wild. Starting early.
Yeah.
I think there's like age restrictions for some of these certifications. I think OSCP is like 16 or 18. I'm not sure about like CH or anything. But if you're 14, I would say do labs and document whatever you're learning. You don't have to like worry about certifications when you're 14, to be honest. But by the time you get to an age where you might want to be able to take certifications, like 16 or like 18, like I said, I'm not too sure what the age restrictions are on some of these certifications. By that time, you'll be able to just blow through them because you did all these labs when you were younger.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. 14. I didn't even have a computer. So kudos to you, dude. Like, all right. So TLC, which, where did it go? Okay. Which would you say is more value, the OSCP or the career ready? Sorry, no, ask the questions, dude. No worries. So I think
Hmm.
the career ready bundle. I like Heath. I like his team. I like what he's doing. So I would rather support that. To be honest, that's
Yeah.
just my opinion. That's from my heart. Um, so that's what I would do. I would rather go that route.
Um, for me, I would say if you're an outgoing person, if you are good at like just reaching out and networking in general, I think you could do that and work on the OSCP at the same time. Because then you're telling people, "Oh, I'm working on the OSCP," yada yada yada. And then at some point they're gonna see that you passed, and they'll be like, "Okay, this kid is actually making progress." And people see the things you post really, especially if you're posting what you're doing, and then you post that you actually passed. They're gonna see it. So I think if you're outgoing, if you think you might be good at learning to network and talk to people by yourself, I think you can go for the OSCP route. But if you have no idea what you're doing, or how to talk to people, what consultations and calls, kickoff calls, readout calls might look like, and you want to do that, then definitely go for the TCM bundle. And probably just think about where your money is going, to be honest. Like Patrick said, is your full name Patrick?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like Patrick said, he'd rather support TCM Security because $1,000 is a lot. And if you're gonna think about supporting, then definitely I'd say support TCM Security because offensive security.
Yeah. So let's keep it at that.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So, and I have a whole other thing on offensive security, but I'll keep that for another time, or maybe not even bring it up in the real world because that's on another subject. So, if you were to list the things that all right, I'll put this. I'll show this up here. So, if you had a list of the things that higher your chance of landing a pen testing job, would it be? I believe showing your work. That it all boils down to that. Like, do whatever. If you're doing hack the box, Vuln Hub machines, home labs, show that. Brought like showcase it, right? And like Tadi said, like people are going to see you. They don't have to like your comments or like your post, but people are watching, right? And this community is super, super small. You might think it's huge, but it's very, very tiny.
yeah,
And there's so many people that see your work. You know what I mean? They don't have to be like, hey, you know, your stuff is awesome, but there's like, he got his OSCP and then he started getting, 300,000 impressions. And then now he has, comments and messages from recruiters. So I think, obviously a certification will validate the skills that you are learning, but like it all depends on what your wallet holds, right? Like, can you afford it? If you can afford it, yes, go get that validation of a certification. If you can't, just go ahead and document and just, use everything that's free 99, right? Use, Kali, use Vulnhub machines, use the free boxes on Try Hack Me or Hack the Box or whatever, and just showcase and document your journey. And trust me, you will get recognized. And maybe try to reach out to folks like TCM Security or these small like consulting firms and see if you can internship. Maybe you can intern for 3 months or 6 months to get that exposure to folks, that how they're doing their engagements, right? So that's also another way that I would recommend. You guys think? All right, let me put this up here too. All right, I'll let you go first. You can go for that one.
Do I think being a YouTube creator has helped out with my studying and how I study? It takes time out of my actual studying. So no, but it has helped in terms of networking with people. I really don't think I would be where I am today if I hadn't started a YouTube channel. So if you are thinking of starting a channel, do so, please, for your own sake.
Yeah.
But in terms of like helping me study, no, because editing takes forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think, on my side of the story, being, a YouTube creator or making some videos, it helped me more with reachability, right? Reaching more folks than just doing everything behind a computer and just doing my own thing. And, just, I think I said this on, I forgot who stream or whatever, but
Yeah.
like, I never really used my government name on the internet until probably 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. Like I didn't put my government name out there. So I just felt like I'd like to, be myself and just be me, not people knowing who I was and knowing anything about me, because I like my business to be pretty private. But when, the pandemic happened and you couldn't leave your house because everyone's scared of that's a whole nother thing. And then I'm like, okay. And then friends were like starting studying for like PCNSE, which is Palo Alto certification. And then we all did that together. And then like one friend would be like, oh, how do I set up, a virtual firewall and blah, blah, blah. And I would do it and put it on Google Drive. And I think that was my first video. And I'm like, dude, like maybe I should just make a YouTube. I don't know how to make a YouTube channel. I don't know what I'm doing on YouTube, but maybe I can just post it. And that's what I did. And then I'm like, okay, like I'll start making little videos on how to set up Active Directory. What is DNS? And just start talking. And if you look at some of my beginning of my videos, I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
me too.
as far as editing and stuff like that, the technical stuff I knew really well, but really had to, knowing something and then conveying this to the audience is two different skills, right? So yeah, make a YouTube channel and go for it. And talking about YouTube, I'm not sure if you guys seen it, but you had a video saying quitting YouTube. Can you talk about that for a minute before we wrap up next couple minutes?
Um. Okay. So a while ago, like beginning of January, I got an email from the Google AdSense team talking about how my AdSense account had been banned. So for a quick second, I thought it was my actual YouTube channel getting, deleted. I was like, hey, this has to be like a phishing email. So I went to my studio, I logged in, I saw all my videos. I was like, okay, cool. My videos are still there. And then I went to like the monetization tab, which shows you like your ad revenue, estimated stuff, and all that. And that wasn't there. It was just some list of things I kind of had to do. And then I clicked on that and I saw that they had like canceled my AdSense account for invalid traffic. Not knowing what that was, I kind of looked into it. It's just random stuff that you really can't tell or fix by yourself. It's something they can probably fix, to be honest. They can detect copyrighted songs in 2 seconds. They could probably tell you what's wrong with your account, but they'd rather not. So I was like, okay, really the motivation to do YouTube wasn't really there anymore. And as much as I like helping people, I was like, I hate ads. They're still gonna show ads on my videos even without paying me. So what's the point of really making YouTube videos anymore? But I posted that video. People like hit me up and encourage me, just keep doing what you're doing. Try and monetize in other ways. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. And just the fact that I like making videos to help people in the long run, I'll probably still keep posting. But yeah, in the process of making like a Patreon and finding other things to, monetize my channel with.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, guys. Like, if you're watching this, once he has his Patreon up and running, please support it. If there's any other ways, I don't know, buy him a coffee. I don't know if you drink coffee. There's a whole bunch of
I
little
love
apps
coffee.
that you can like support, like buy a coffee or maybe PayPal or Patreon, or just join the channel. I'm not sure, like I don't even know if that's going to really work because that actually goes to your AdSense when you join. I think it pays through Google. So just, make sure of that. And yeah, that's, that'll probably wrap this up for tonight. And, definitely go subscribe and support his channel. And any last grievances before we go? Any other last words that you would like to say to the folks?
Not many last words. Thank you for having me. I see TLS has a question about posting on LinkedIn. Just post what you're doing. It doesn't have to be, just don't post anything controversial and you should be good. But thanks for having me, Pat. Appreciate it. It had been a long time coming. I think it's been 2 months we've been talking about this, and we finally got it done. But
Yeah, there's no thunder, there's no rain, there's no
yeah,
interruptions.
appreciate it, brother. Thanks
Yeah,
very much.
thank you so much. And hopefully I'll get on your channel and just keep supporting the community. Much love. Thank you so much and be safe, everyone. And
For
if
sure.
you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments below. If you guys are watching this after the fact and you don't catch the live stream, I'll put his channel, his contact info, and reach out. And however we can help, let us help.
Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, folks.